Hi guys, welcome to another quick guidance video. In today's video, we will discuss about what really is it working as a marketing manager after an MBA degree. So today we have with us Miss Nikhila Hans, who was an IIT Delhi graduate from 2016 and post which she worked around 2 years in McKinsey, after which she joined IIM Ahmedabad and now she is in HUL. So I think it's directly over to you, Nicola. Thanks a lot for being here today.
Hi, my name is Nikhila. I've been working at HUL as a sales and marketing management trainee for about 5 months now. And I did my summer internship there as well last year for about a couple of months. So, a total of 7 months of experience in this space. Before I sort of start answering all these questions, I must tell you guys that I think every month of being here has made me realize that there is so much more to what a marketeer does, that there is sort of something, there's always been something new for me to learn every month of being here. And therefore, I'm going to answer all these questions to the best of my sort of current knowledge. Keeping that in mind, I'm going to start with the first question, which is what is the role of a marketer really about? And the way that I'm going to go about this is that I'm going to describe firstly, what a brand manager or what a marketer does, and within that umbrella, what are the other roles that sort of are covered as you go on and become a brand manager. Firstly, the broad umbrella of marketing, I'm going to borrow a few words that one of my mentors at HUL told me, I think the first week that I was there. He told me that marketing is basically made up of three words, or the role of a marketer is basically managing these three words. And I'm going to base my discussion around these three. The first one that he said was dhanda, which basically means that a marketer is literally supposed to run his or her own dhanda, or his or her own mini business. For example, if I'm a brand manager of let's say Dove, then I'm responsible for managing the entire profit and loss responsibility for Dove, and accountable for sort of growing that brand, responsible for the profitability that comes out of the brand, and therefore all the actions that are associated with these two objectives of growth, profitability, etc. So that's sort of the first key part, which is dhanda. Also relating it to sort of my own experience of being here. So one of my projects has been very sort of focused on dhanda, and basically my project was on developing a market share gain strategy in a couple of states in one of the HUL categories. And I must say that it was extremely business focused, as in the way that even my manager sort of motivated me to think was that it is sort of my business, and therefore I have to think in a very strategic manner as to in which pockets can I really grow my brand, what are the different levers that I need to pull in order to sort of increase the sales or increase profitability of the brand. So very sort of business focused, very execution focused ideology. So that's one, which is around dhanda. The second objective that my mentor told me that a marketer really does is leadership. And from my own experience, I think what it really means is that as a brand manager, you're not really only leading your marketing teams, who are, all the assistant brand managers or other brand managers who may be reporting into you, but it's also about leading other adjacent teams who are responsible, or who sort of who contribute to your brand's growth. For example, R&D is a critical team, right? That manages product or gives you product level insights, gives you some sort of key actions as to what changes you can make into a product based on XYZ things that you identify are, market spaces to go into. So leading the R&D team, or even leading, for example, your supply chain team, to make sure that your products are actually being distributed at the right time, at the right place. Leading the sales team, again, making sure that rubber is actually hitting the ground and products are actually being sold. So that's what leadership is about, leading all these different teams to achieve a common objective of the growth of your brand. And again, if I have to connect it to one of my projects, I actually had sort of a lot of interaction with the R&D team, where where I was continuously sort of relaying back market insights to the R&D team, and they were helping me understand what those market insights would mean from a product perspective. For example, if I would go to them and say that, consumers think they need XYZ in this product, and then they would tell me that in order to meet these XYZ requirements, we would need to make ABC changes in the product. So sort of interfacing a lot with the R&D team, and deciding the direction for the brand. Similarly, interacting a lot with the sales team, in order to find out who our local competition is in that place, how is the brand doing on the ground, what are sort of some of the key challenges that we hit when sort of the rubber hits the ground. So that's the second one, which is leadership, right? Not only of your marketing team, but also of other adjacent teams, in order to achieve one common objective. The third sort of objective that my mentor used, which I highly also relate to, is consumer empathy. And what I mean by that is that I've realized that a lot of the role of, or a lot of sort of daily work of a marketeer is really to understand consumers, his or her consumers, a lot more. What do they want in their product? How do they perceive the category? Where does a product fit into their lives? How do they feel about, product consumption? And sort of using those insights in order to grow. And those insights can be used in I think pretty much every direction. Of course, one obvious direction is that we're using those consumer insights in order to drive advertisements, or in order to drive sort of key proposition that we want our brand to deliver. Other insights sort of relay into product improvement that I earlier described about, just talking to consumers, understand what are the different attributes in a product that they like, relaying back to R&D, identifying what are the product changes that need to be made, and therefore deciding the direction ahead depending on the feasibility or sort of how it fits into the entire P&L. And pretty much, I think in HUL, what I've realized is that pretty much every step has a decent amount of consumer interaction involved, consumer testing involved, where we go to consumers, we test different actions that we're about to take, and only after sort of we're satisfied that with this particular set of consumers, this has actually worked, do we go ahead with sort of launching those actions on the ground. So that was a third, which was consumer work and consumer empathy, developing empathy towards your consumers to really understand them at a very fundamental level and use those insights again to grow your brand. So those were the three sort of broad levers of a marketeer, right? Dhanda, doing your mini business within this huge business of the larger company. Second, leadership of different teams in order to grow towards a common goal. And third one was consumer empathy. A lot of consumer work, testing with consumers, and just sort of leveraging those insights again to sort of grow your own brand. So that was sort of broadly what marketing is. From what I understand at HUL is also that in order to sort of, in the journey of becoming a brand manager, a person does a lot of other roles as well. Just to sort of make sure that once you're a brand manager, you actually understand what are the different challenges like, and you've had your own learning journey to becoming a brand manager. And the way that these roles are structured are, the first role, which I'm currently in, is a management trainee role. So currently I'm being given different projects of varying lengths, mostly 2-3 months in different functions. So for example, one of the projects that I did was in marketing, pure play sort of marketing, doing what a brand manager does. The other project was in this space called customer marketing, which I'm going to come to shortly. Another project is going to be sales, again, which I'm going to cover shortly. But the objective is to cover sort of different stints, and really understand different facets of different functions in the company. After this management trainee period, the next role that typically people advance to is an area sales manager role for about a couple of years. What an area sales manager is supposed to do is that he or she is responsible for the sales of their own area. So they're actually leading about 20 to 30 people, usually twice their age, who are sort of helping them deliver sales targets of different brands or different categories that they're responsible for. From what I understand, it's a pure play leadership role where you're leading this huge team, and you're sort of managing them, helping them, and of course achieving your own targets in that process. It's also, of course, the role where all the execution happens. Your actions are actually going to lead to sort of on ground results, right? It's not some strategy that you're making, but whatever you're going to decide today, it's going to be implemented soon, and you're going to see its results very soon. So very impact sort of focused role, I think. So that's what sales is about. Another role that typically people go through is called customer marketing, which I covered before. Customer marketing, as I understand, is something between sales and marketing, and sort of more of an interface between the two. So, for example, I'll give you an example of the customer marketing project that I've done. My customer marketing project was in modern trade, and the project was about designing optimal promotion strategies for a few supermarkets. And the way that my role sort of fit in there was that I had to coordinate between those brands that I was working for, and between the sales team of those supermarkets, in order to come to a common solution as to what these promotional strategies can be. What are the different promotions that we can run in those categories in order to be truly effective on the ground? And likewise, again, from what I understand by talking to different customer marketing people, is that it's a lot more about being focused on the channel of delivery. So whether you're delivering your targets through a supermarket, or whether you're delivering your targets through, let's say, kirana stores, right? And accordingly, you sort of bridge the gap between sales on the ground, who's delivering those sales targets, let's say in a kirana store, and your brand, who has sort of their own sort of strategic objectives. So as I was saying, that customer marketing is really about bridging the gap between sales and marketing, right? If so basically, let's say you're supposed to be bridging the gap between, let's say, what a sales manager is doing on the ground in kirana stores of a particular area, and sort of relating it to how it goes all the way back to what are the strategic objectives that are set by the brand itself. So sort of somewhere in between, bridging the gap between sales and marketing. So as far as I know, I think that's broadly the rules that's sort of covered: sales, customer marketing, and pure play marketing, where you're sort of a brand manager. And I think somewhere that's how career progression also happens, at least in HUL, where people usually start with the sales role. Some of them sort of go ahead and do a customer marketing role, and then sort of become a brand manager. And of course, career progression after brand manager is just sort of handling different brands, and there's a huge learning curve, as far as I understand, in becoming a brand manager for different brands. Being a brand manager of a category in the food and beverages space, for example, for tea brand, is very different from, let's say, handling a detergent brand, right, which is sort of a pure household kind of a play. And it is obviously very different than sort of managing a brand like Lakme, which is very sort of beauty focused. And that's how sort of career progression, as far as I know, happens. People are given different roles after every 2 to 3 years. They're made brand managers of different roles, and that's how sort of it goes ahead. So that was on the roles. Coming to second, which is exit options. Again, as far as I understand, I think anything and everything within the marketing and business building space is really open to a marketer. I know some people who sort of quit after maybe a couple of years at HUL, and some of them have gone to startups in a sales role, or in a business head sort of a role. I also know people who've left in a couple of years for marketing roles at Amazon, or marketing roles on Facebook. And then, of course, I also know of brand managers who sort of quit HUL to go to other FMCG companies, or even other companies in the consumer space, maybe apparel companies, footwear companies, and any sort of consumer facing roles. And of course, there is a set of people who at least I've seen in my experience, also end up doing their own startup after a few years, in the consumer space, or I mean any other space that they see fit. Those are sort of pretty much the exit options that are available. Again, from what I understand, I think the kind of exit options that are available to a marketer are sort of pretty decent, both in terms of the career path ahead as well as the remuneration that is offered to them. So that was on the roles and exit options of marketing. I think all in all, my understanding and my experience, the little experience that I have in marketing, I've realized that marketing as a profession is a very very good balance between exercising your left side of the brain and the right side of the brain. There is a decent amount of analytical work that you've got to do as a brand manager, analyze different data sets, come up with conclusions, and sort of come up with those logical interpretations. And at the same time, there is a decent amount of left brain work involved where you have to go with your gut, where you have to sort of understand consumers, where you have to take part in activities such as building advertisements, and sort of being creative, and marrying that with the data sort of analysis that your right brain does. So a very good balance, and it's been interesting. It's been interesting so far. I'd also recommend that if you're genuinely curious about marketing, you should definitely read the book called CEO Factory by Sudhir Sitapati. He's the head of the food and beverages business at HUL, and he's been at HUL for really long. He's written a lot more about marketing, and I think it'll give you guys a very good flavor about what a marketer really does, and it can definitely help you explore if it's the right space for you. So definitely do that if you're interested in this space. The third question was around work life. Honestly, 5 months, I think, out of my 7 months have been in a work from home space. So I don't have an answer for you on how work life is going to work when we're all out, hopefully soon. But if I have to talk about a work from home setup, I think work life has been pretty good. There have obviously been hectic days where on an average I've worked for about 10-11 hours a day. But there have also been sort of a fair share of days where I've worked from more like 10 to 6, and I've gotten time to sort of do all the other things that I really like. I've gotten time to exercise. I've gotten time to sleep well. I've gotten time to spend with my family, of course, in this work from home setup. So I honestly can't complain about work life balance. I think it's pretty good. From what I hear from my seniors as well, work-life balance has been overall good for them as well. It's given them space to sort of do other things that they really like doing while sort of managing their job well. So yeah, I think work-life balance is pretty good. Thank you.
That was like a superbly informative session for everyone, Nikhila. I think everyone learned quite a bit about what really is the kind of work that you get after marketing. And this would be super helpful for people who are looking for marketing as a specialization in MBA. So guys, you can understand what is the different kind of work that you will have, how will your day kind of look like, and I hope that this helped you. Soon we will also release a video on what it takes to get into such a role. So all of the process of interview, etc., that we will try to discuss. I hope that this video helped you. In case you are looking for other careers like PM Tech, consulting, finance, we have similar videos like that in the quick guidance video playlist. So you can watch that as well. And do let me know any new field or career or topic that you want me to create a video on, and we will do that. Thank you, Nikhila, for your time, and it was great.